Update. Last year, boyfriend 33 male quit his job without telling me, and now he refused to look for another job. I'm 31 female, tired of paying for everything. Original post. My boyfriend 33 male quit his job last year without telling me. I only found out 2 days before the rent was due, as we split everything 50-50 when I asked him for his part of the rent. When I asked, he simply told me he quit because he was tired of working at that place. Since then, I've been paying for everything, including rent, food, gas, bills, and anything he needs. I had to work 2 jobs while going to school for a while. It was hard, but I finally finished school a couple months ago and I found my dream job. I make enough to live comfortably, even take care of my boyfriend and still have money for savings. However, I still want him to get a job to support himself because I think as an adult, he needs a job. But I feel like he relies on me too much, and he thinks since my job pays well, he doesn't have any reason to work. He always says things like, "You make good money now, so maybe you could buy me my dream car," or "You should open a business for me to run." It bothers me a lot. I don't mind supporting my partner financially if there's a legit reason that prevents him from working, but it's not the case. He spends most of his time playing games, meeting up with friends, or just at home watching movies. I still have to do all the chores and take care of our dogs. His family thinks that he's been working to take care of me so that I can finish school, which is not true. Now they think I was able to finish school and got a good job all because of him. I don't even want to explain to them. I just want him to get a job and have a future. But when I try to talk to him, he told me I'm not being supportive, and now that I have a good job, I look down on him. What should I do? Is it even worth it to try to talk some sense into him? I don't want to start dating at this age, but I feel like I can't keep doing this. Now for the top advice before reading the update. You break up with him. He's not a partner. He's a freaking leech. Stop trying to control him and control what you can. Break up. Kick him out or move out. Find someone worthy of you. This. Stop being his sugar mama. You are incentivizing his laziness. Give him a hard deadline to resume paying his half of the bills. And if he fails, give him 30 days to move out. You can continue dating him when he's living in his own place, but I don't know why you would want to. Wow, you leave. You don't have a boyfriend. You have a dependent. Of course he's not getting a job. Why would he? You have proven to him that he doesn't need to because he's got a sugar mama. Him saying that you look down on him? It's manipulation. He wants you to feel bad. Supportive of what? Him sitting around playing games? Leave. Dating can actually be fun, and you can't want this for the rest of your life. I did feel bad when he said that, and he does that all the time. Every time I bring up something, he would start talking about how miserable his life is, and how I just make it worse. I admit that I stayed till now because I feel bad. And no, I don't want this for the rest of my life. I will move on and hopefully find someone who cares. Next time he tells you how miserable his life is, say, "Okay, I'm going to help with that and leave." Or make him leave, since he doesn't help/pay for anything. Also, you should correct his family's belief that he supported you through school. Don't perpetuate the lie that he is supporting you. You can do so much better. He's not a partner. I will have a talk with him this afternoon to tell him it's time to end things and he needs to move out. He will probably give me the "my life is miserable" talk again, but I think reading all these comments makes me realize I should feel bad for myself and not for him. I'm sure once he moves back to live with his family, they will reach out to me to tell me how good he has been treating me and how he helped me through school. They've done it before when I told them things weren't working for us, but I will tell them everything this time. I left an abusive household in a situation very similar to yours, but it went on for much longer, and I only wish I'd left sooner. As for dating at this age, I see you're 31. I met my husband at 34. He's wonderful, and we're happy in a healthy relationship. He has a great job and a small growing business. He does household chores, cooks meals, and is a great father to our child. He is respectful to me and communicates well. I don't look back to that awful, abusive, and manipulative situation from my past nowadays. Don't let this current situation make you quit your own future and miss out on the happiness you deserve. Also, what his family thinks is irrelevant. Please don't stay in this. You're allowing yourself to be used and harmed. There's only misery ahead unless you realize you need to end it. It's better on the other side, free of this. Your comment gives me hope. I will probably not gonna date for a while after this, but just knowing that there's a chance that I can still meet someone who loves me really helps me feel better about my situation. I think once I resolve this and focus on myself more, I will be happier. Beside this relationship, everything else is going very well for me. I don't depend on anyone, so nothing will really change, except I will have one less thing to worry about. Thank you for sharing your experience. I'm glad to hear you're in a healthy relationship. Edit/mini update. I didn't expect this many comments. I can't reply to everyone, but I did read all the comments that I really appreciated. Many people have asked, why him? Why stay for years? What did I see in him? So I just want to answer it here. We started off pretty normal. We split everything 50-50, and I had no problem with that. But throughout the years, he started showing his true self. I was in school, and school was the most important thing to me at that point, so I invested all my time and energy into it. I was in a PhD program, so I had stipend of around $30K a year, which was enough for myself, but not for two people. We've been together for 8 years now. After he quit his job, I was very stressed out, but I had to focus on school and tried to do everything I could to survive. I didn't have time to really think about my personal life, and I also didn't want to go through any changes in life, so I just let it be. In addition, he guilt trips me a lot, so I feel bad for him. But now that I have a stable job, I have time to really think about my future, and I don't see myself being with him long term. I don't think it would be as easy as, hey, let's break up, because I know he wouldn't let it go that easy. But I'll start planning to get out, maybe ask some friends for support. His name is not on the list, so I'll stay where I am and he'll have to move. Now for the full update. It's been 2 months since I posted about my situation on the sub, and I just want to give you an update of how things went after I made that post. Before I go into the details, I just want to say I really appreciate everyone here. After I resolved everything, I occasionally would go back to my original post and read the comments to remind myself that I've done the right thing. After posting on here, I went home from work that day and asked my friends to come over but stay in the parking lot while I sort things out with my now ex-boyfriend. Before I could even start the conversation, he told me his friend got a new car recently and how I should get him a car since I can afford it. I got really upset and told him he could have got himself a car if he was working. I told him how stressful it has been for me with him not working and fully relying on me. He started the "my life is already miserable and you're not being supportive" talk. I was sick of it, so I said I wanted to end things here and he needs to move out ASAP. As expected, he got upset and threw a tantrum. He was yelling, throwing stuff around, and when he realized I was being dead serious, he started threatening to hit one of my dogs. I jumped in between him and the dogs to stop him from harming them. Then he pushed me and grabbed me by my neck. I was able to get him off of me, put the dogs into a room, and called my friends to tell them to come in and call the police. He was trying to hit me, but my friends got there in time. I think he got scared when he saw my friends showed up, so he backed down, but he was still verbally telling them to get out of the way or he would hit them too. The police came, they took him away and told me he wouldn't be able to come into the apartment anymore. He had to move out, but would need to be escorted by the police if he wants to grab his stuff later. It was a horrible experience, but it showed me that I've done the right thing. I thought that was the end of everything, but his auntie called me when she found out and tried to gaslight me saying that he didn't do anything wrong, and I was just upset, so I called the police. I told myself that I no longer have to deal with this BS, so I told her to leave me alone and hung up. His family would continue to harass me, but stopped when I threatened to report them to the police. I continued to pay the rent and bills like how I've always been doing. The only thing that changed is I'm now so much happier. I'm the happiest I've ever been in years. I just got a promotion last week and I've been spending time enjoying life with the extra money I have since I'm no longer having to pay for his expenses. As for my ex, he's moved in with his aunt. I got a protection order, so we are not in contact at all. Wonderful update. Congrats to you. You're strong and capable, and now you can live in peace. Thank you. It feels great to wake up in the morning and don't have to worry about what kind of crap is he going to give me today. And OMG, the extra savings that I have, since I'm not longer financially responsible for a full-grown adult. Sending you an internet mom hug for being so wonderful. We are all glad to read that you have embraced your new life and are enjoying it. Don't forget that you're strong and that your story could help some other internet stranger to make a move to a better life as you did. Thank you. I've realized that all the uncertainties that I had before really don't mean anything. My life is only getting better, and I've received all the support I need from friends and family, and people on Reddit too. I'm so sorry you went through that. No one deserves to feel unsafe in their own home. You did a smart thing, calling your friends and the police. You are strong and so capable of having a fulfilling life that is all your own now. I'm very proud of you. I was expecting an ugly breakup, but not a violent one. I'm glad I had my friends there. Otherwise, I really don't know how things would turn out. I think your story should be a lesson to others. You had no reason to think a freeloader would become an abuser, and yet he did. It's always good to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. If you hadn't had friends on standby, things could have ended much more tragically. I am glad you took precautions. Too many times people assume, yeah, they'll be upset or hurt, but they would never hurt me. I also just thought that I'd have my friends there in case he refuses to leave. I wasn't expecting things to escalate that quickly. You were right. If my friends weren't there, things could have turned out much worse. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not paying my girlfriend's bills? I met my girlfriend 8 months ago. We lived in different cities, but I work remotely, so after doing the long-distance thing for a while and going back and forth between the two cities, she asked me to move in with her, since I don't really have to stay in the city I was. I was very reluctant at first due to the short period of time we were dating for, and the fact that I would be moving into her place, which creates an imbalance of power in the house. However, after she insisted for a while, I decided to move in with her. I am a software engineer making about $140K a year. She's a teacher making $45 to $50K a year. In my own apartment, my rent was $1,400. With utilities, I pay about $1,550 per month. She, on the other hand, rents a house for $2,400 because she has 3 dogs and a cat, and an apartment wouldn't be ideal. She also has a roommate paying half of her rent. I moved in last month, and the deal is I will be paying 2/3 of the bills. The roommate will be moving out soon, and after doing the calculations, my part amounts to $1,700, including utilities. She would pay about $750, which is way less than what she was paying before. For me, it's slightly more, but I don't mind since I make way more than her. However, since I moved in, she kept talking about wanting to be a stay-at-home wife/mom. I always brush it off, but yesterday she told me she hates her job and she won't be renewing her contract with the school, which means she won't have an income. She wants a different job, but she has no idea what she wants to do yet. So, she is counting on me to pay all the bills. She means I would be paying more than $1,000 than when I was living alone. Mind you, that's just for rent and utilities, food not included, and she has 2 big dogs which need taking care of. I could afford it if I wanted to, but I feel like I'm not ready to take care of her yet. And I have plans on saving more money to buy a house and other projects I have. She's not my wife. I don't want to be taking care of her 100%. And to be honest, I would have nothing to show for it either. So I told her I won't be able to pay the bills all by myself, and she made a face as if like I am being cheap. But now I feel like the whole reason she wanted me to move in so bad was because she wanted a backup plan for when she quits her job. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to pay everything? Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. Pack up and leave now. This, 100% this. Not a-hole and get the heck out while you can. This was her plan all along. Before she gets pregnant. That's what I said. Her next move is to baby trap him, so she can mooch as long as possible. And don't even have goodbye sex. Don't give her the remotest possible chance of getting pregnant. But now I feel like the whole reason she wanted me to move in so bad was because she wanted a backup plan for when she quits her job. You aren't her backup plan. You are the plan. Find someone naive enough to move in and start paying part of her bills. Then, spring on said person that roommate is out. And you take on responsibility for supporting her because you are too timid to GTFO. She's got some cheek, and you've got some pretty low basic street skills. Not a-hole. Next step, she'll baby trap him. Exactly. This is a classic tactic among predatory women who are looking for a guy to use as a personal ATM. Yeah, the fact that she wanted OP to move in so quickly is alarming. Just that fact alone doesn't necessarily mean ulterior motives. We've all gotten swept up in the honeymoon phase. But the fact that it worked out that she'd be paying less than she was before definitely raised my eyebrow. And then just straight up moving to, I'm gonna quit my job and be a stay-at-home partner, cements it. She's absolutely the type that would try and baby trap someone. Also, this might make me an a-hole, but I'd really struggle with a spouse wanting to be a house spouse or stay-at-home spouse. If we were parents, that's entirely different. But if there's no kids, I'm sorry. If I have to work, then so do you. Ideally, the stay-at-home partner does work, but at home. They handle the meal planning, shopping, cooking, laundry, and majority of the cleaning. Keeping a house going is a lot of work. It's also something that should be decided before moving in together when possible. Not a-hole. Am I the a-hole for evicting my roommates after buying the condo we rented together? I live in a small condo, about 600 square feet, with my roommate Caitlin. We didn't know each other before moving in. She rents the bigger room and I rent the smaller one. Our landlord told us she wants to sell the condo, and I jumped in on the opportunity to buy it. She sold it to me almost 15% below market price, so it's great. I already gave her the deposit and we will sign the papers in a few days. Then the condo will be mine 3 months from now. After me giving our landlord a deposit, Caitlin was ecstatic. She brought a champagne to celebrate, told me I'm the best, and that she will save so much money from now on by not having to pay rent. I don't know where she got this idea from, and I thought our landlord already told her how long she has until she has to move out. But it seems not. I told Caitlin that it's a small condo and don't need a roommate anymore. She will have to move out in 3 months, but I'd gladly help her look for a new place. She flipped out. She asked me if I seriously want to evict her and throw her out on the street. She said she thought we were friends, and if she had the money to buy the place, she would have let me stay for free because that's what decent people do. Then she switched and started bargaining with me that I can have the bigger room and she will stay in the small room. She won't bother much, and so on. I feel a bit guilty. I really thought it was given that she will have to move out. Maybe I should have told Caitlin before giving the deposit to our landlord. I feel sorry for her. I know she doesn't make a lot of money, but at 26, I don't want to live in a small room anymore, especially if I own a condo. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Our landlord told us that she will put the condo on the market in a few weeks, but we don't have to worry. She will tell the new owner that she won't give over the keys right away, so we have enough time to look for a new place. We are month to month. I didn't think Caitlin would think she didn't have to move out anymore, just because I'm the one who bought a condo. As for the legal issues, where we live, there is no such thing as a lease continuing with a new owner. I can't evict Caitlin because I'm not the one she has a contract with. Her lease is with the current landlord, and landlord has to give Caitlin a written notification, which seems like she hasn't done yet. I'm still buying the house. In my first edit, I explained what our landlord told us 2 weeks ago. She first announced that she will sell soon and we will need to move out. Then I talked to her and eventually made an offer. Now for the top comments. She immediately assumed she wouldn't have to pay rent? Why? To me, this would have been a conversation of if I would then pay rent to you, or if I should start looking for a place. You gave her ample time to find a new place and offered to help look. Not stay home. That's the part I don't understand either. Pretty entitled for someone to assume that they won't have to pay rent somewhere. I hope he's not the a-hole at all. Right, I would have at least assumed I'd still have to pay the same rent. I am disturbed that Caitlin first thought was that she would live rent-free. That is incredibly entitled. Did she think you got it for free? If you want to do a nice gesture, you could help her look for a new place, or help her pay for movers, etc., depending on the severity of her financial situation. But you are not entitled to keep her as a roommate, nor should you feel an ounce of regret for doing what is right for you. Congratulations on your new place. Not a-hole. Not only did she expect that she'd stay rent-free, but she initially expected to keep everything the same, with her in the larger room. The audacity. Not the a-hole. Once you have officially bought the condo, find a good landlord lawyer and legally notify her of how long she has to stay. If she stays beyond that, you will have to evict her, and having a lawyer to do it properly is important. Be careful that she doesn't do any damage to the place. Also, make sure the landlord gives you the security deposit both she and you paid. You will have to return her portion. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for being mad at my fat roommate who has been wearing my clothes and completely ruining them? Recently, I have been noticing that any new clothes I get are becoming less tight and looser a few days after first purchasing them. It was making me doubt myself if I was the reason for that, like maybe I was gaining weight and was loosening them when I tried them on myself. But then I found out that it's actually my roommate who has been trying them out for a few hours when I wasn't home. I went really crazy at her. She basically ruined like 5 new sets of expensive clothes. They are so loose now because of her fat body. And I look so ridiculous and uncomfortable in them as I'm much skinnier than her. Her excuse was that they looked so nice that she wanted to try them out, especially when she has a problem finding new clothes she can wear, her words. And I don't like it because she didn't tell me about it until I caught her myself. She said that she thought it was something so insignificant that she didn't need permission from me. Let's just say that things didn't go well, and I decided to get a lock for my closet, which offended her and got her on the defensive, especially when I called her fat, which she is. She is literally obese. She is 80 kilograms, 157 centimeters. Am I the a-hole? Note, I didn't insult her with fat. It wasn't an insult. It was just me telling her that our body sizes are very different, which is where I used the word fat to describe her body size, which she took as an insult and that offended her and got her on the defensive. Not the a-hole. It's your property. And not asking if they can try them on is a kind of invasion of privacy and a sanitary issue. Good luck with this roommate of yours, OP. Yes, I suppose it would be more diplomatic to phrase it as too big, but facts are still facts. Not the a-hole. The last thing I will do is be diplomatic if someone is stealing from me, and she very well knew what she was doing. Not the a-hole. Not sure why people are saying everyone sucks here. She literally ruined your clothes because she's bigger than you. Fat. That's the word. Could have you used different words? Yes. Agreed. I am fat. It is not a bad word. It is an accurate description of my body. I wouldn't put it on someone else's clothes at all. But I especially wouldn't do it when I knew that our difference in size would cause damage to the clothes. I agree with you. I have too much fat on my body, therefore I'm fat. I don't like being called fat. I don't think anyone does. But I wouldn't put myself in that position to anger someone by basically stealing, if only for a while, someone else's clothes and ruining them. Not the a-hole. Who tries on someone else's clothes, especially expensive clothes, without asking? It was mean to call her fat, but she has to know you're not the same size since she's been stretching out your clothing. You would have been better off explaining to her what happened and asking her to just buy them from you at that point because they can no longer fit you properly, before you go verbally insulting her and throwing locks on your closet door. You would have been better off explaining to her what happened. But why? The roommate is fat, not stupid. The roommate knows what happened. The roommate is the reason all of this happened. Next story. Am I the a-hole for my response when my boyfriend brought up the apartment purchase/ownership in front of his family? Context: I, female 29, have been with my boyfriend Adam, male 27, for 2.5 years. He's the quiet/shy type. It's very hard to get him to open up about what bothers him. And for now, I'm the one with an income. We get along easily, though he can be a bit unreasonable sometimes. Example, he doesn't cook because he's worried I won't like his food, but still cooks for himself, and it smells pretty telling that his cooking is good. Another example is that he doesn't do most chores, saying he's worried he might break/damage something. It's frustrating, but we're working on fixing it. Now on to the more complicated issue. I put money aside since 2015 to buy an apartment, and I'm finally able to get it done this year. When I told him this, he got agitated and said I should wait a little longer till we're married. But I said no. He started complaining about how bad he feels about seeing me buy the apartment myself without having him contribute. I asked what I was supposed to do because it kinda sounded like a he problem, no offense. But he got so worked up and gave me two options. One is I put his name on the title, and two is not buy the apartment till marriage so it'll become a shared marital asset. I said no and that was final and he should drop it. He did eventually. Then at his family's house, I was taken aback when he started complaining about the apartment and again told me to either put his name on the title or wait till marriage to buy it, because he feels like there's a huge power imbalance here and that he can't bring himself to accept it. He also said that it makes him feel like he contributes nothing. I snapped and said, the reason you feel like you contribute nothing is because you literally contribute nothing. And I suggest you fix that by actually finding a job and having a decent income. His family looked shocked. He glanced at me, then got up and walked away. I waited for him to come back, but had to go home because his mom said he felt too overwhelmed and wanted some space. She then basically started shaming me for my statement and hinted about financial mistreatment and control over her son. He's not home yet, demanding another tell about the apartment, probably expecting me to agree to one option. Added in case it matters, he has a disability that limits his job opportunities. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. 1. Second paragraph sounds a lot like weaponized incompetence. 2. He brought it up in front of family to get mama to back him. 3. He sounds like a bit of a leech, to be honest. And 4. For what reason does he want his name on the title if he hasn't put money into it? The answer to 4 is so that he can break up with her, force the sale and get money out of it. He doesn't have a job, so that would be the only way he's getting any money. This. Take the apartment and lose the boyfriend. It will not get better. I won't clean as this is not my apartment. Why would I help move in your apartment? And for the next boyfriend, if he goes to the husband stage, keep your apartment on a prenup. In summation, my unemployed boyfriend, who does no housework, refuses to cook, only for me as he will happily cook for himself, and contributes nothing financially, expects me to give him half of my apartment. He wants this to be a marital asset because he wants to be able to take half of it freely when he walks away. Girl, you are not the a-hole. But why are you even in this relationship? I will seriously never understand these women who describe their men and there's not a single positive attribute to him. Like, girl, you clearly have cognition enough to realize your boyfriend does sweet nothing for you, so why are you with him? It comes down to the person thinking that having someone, anyone, is better than being alone. We've all been there at some point. I honestly do not know why Opie is with this guy though. He sounds like an absolute loser. Opie has her bar sat on the floor. Not the a-hole. He's playing a con and he literally told you. He wants his name on the home or he wants you to marry him so he still legally gets the home as your husband. I suggest leaving before you purchase the home, so he has no legal claim at all. This guy's doing a marinara flag dance with his weaponized incompetence. Put my name on a property I gave zero money towards? Absolutely not. OP, you nailed it when you told him he contributes all of nothing to your relationship. Why on earth are you dragging this relationship out? That's not a relationship. He's basically demanding you adopt him. Not the a-hole. Being single with your own apartment is better than carrying the dead weight around for life. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my wife to help pay for private school despite separate finances? I have been married to Stella for 7 years now. Together, we have 5 children. Daughters from my previous relationship, Kira 11 and May 7. A son and daughter from Stella, Brianna 13 and Jaden 8. And a son together, Lucas 2. My 2 are 50-50 custody while my stepchildren only see their bio father every second weekend. My wife and I agreed to split finances and have mostly kept separate, aside from a joint account for essentials, bills, groceries, house, etc. We both used to be high earners, though had terrible hours. When our parental leave for Lucas was finishing, our children begged us not to go back to work, that they hated the before/after school care and wanted us. In the end, my wife went back but I quit and got a new job. It was much lower pay but essentially school hours, so I was able to be there for our kids. Stella has been paying more of our joint expenses, but otherwise has been fine. I wouldn't say the split has been firm though. I do buy stuff for my stepchildren or pay when I take them all out. It's more the big payments that are separate. Brianna goes to a private high school. I was talking about high schools to my sister since Kira is year 6 and realized that on my current pay, I won't be able to afford to send her with her sister. My ex is barely willing to pay the costs related to public school, let alone a private one. The school is so much better than the nearby public school, and I know Kira wants to go to her sister's school, so I try to talk to Stella and ask if she would be willing to help. It's education, and she's close with my daughters, so it's not like I'm asking her to pay for something crazy. Stella refused, and I would have accepted it even though I was annoyed. But then she went on saying that I knew we were split finances, and I made my choice when I took the lower pay job, that I got more time for less money, so I can't complain that I'm paid less. I got pretty upset about that. I didn't stay home for fun. It was for our family, our children. I loved my job, but I had to sacrifice it for them. It was worth it, of course, but still. Stella basically said that it was my decision, so tough luck that she's not going to finance me. I got angry with that and told her that she knew the consequences of her job, so she can deal with her children then. Her money won't be used on mine, so I won't use my extra time on hers. They can stay in care until our old hours. Stella got angry back, accusing me of using her for money and calling me a complete a-hole for suggesting what I did for my stepchildren. We argued pretty bad. She thinks I'm being greedy, selfish, and petty. But it's not like I'm asking to mooch. I would still foot 50% and get my ex to contribute as much as I can get her to. Yes, it was my choice, but it was for all the children, for our family. Besides, I literally take care of my stepchildren more than my own, 85% versus 50%. I'm not just being lazy or focusing on my own children. I've been there for them all. So I think it's frankly unfair for her to refuse to help even a little. But obviously she thinks I'm being an a-hole. Everyone sucks here, but you more. Like heavily leaning you're the a-hole. You needed to discuss this when you decided to cut your hours. It doesn't sound like the decision was in any way a mutual one made between you and your wife, but all you. Despite that, your wife has been willing to pay more for your shared expenses, which at least somewhat compensates for the extra childcare you were doing. For some reason, you waited until your kid was about to start high school to even think about where she'd go and how you'd afford it. You sprung on your wife that despite your prior agreements being different, you want her to pay tens of thousands in tuition she wasn't planning on. Also, no kid needs to go to private high school. Your daughter will be fine at a public school. I also assume you are not paying any of Brianna's tuition. So she's going to have to pay full tuition for her kids and half for yours. That's a ton of money. I don't know exactly what she makes, but she'd have to be incredibly wealthy for that to be chump change. Your wife also should have been more proactive about thinking through how all this would play out. You should have made a thorough and explicit agreement when you quit your job. This marriage sounds doomed, honestly. Never change jobs for less pay without considering all of the financial implications. Don't change jobs that will have lifestyle implications. Yep. Money is way more important than your kids. This subs sometimes, I swear. Changing the lifestyle of a partnership that you wish to continue should be discussed as much as possible and agreed upon. Unilateral decisions make for short partnerships. Would I be the a-hole if I ask my daughter to return her inheritance? I have 2 sons and a daughter. All of my children are college-aged. My first son wanted to study medicine, and medicine is very expensive. After he finished high school, my husband got sick and my firstborn daughter Janine took over the business. She opted not to go to university but encouraged her brother to pursue medicine and that she will work in the family business and pays fees. Her other brother also wants to pursue medicine, so Janine agreed to pay for them too. That was 6 years ago, and all of her siblings are finished with their studies and doing internships. My husband's health has also improved, but my daughter still runs the business. My daughter decided to move to Canada since all of her siblings have become self-sufficient and my husband and I have saved for retirement. I was talking to my husband and he was thinking about writing a will. He decided that from the sales of the business, Janine will receive 70% of the money and her siblings will share the 30% left equally. His reasoning was that the business paid for the medical school fees and it is expensive. Since Janine did not go to medical school and worked in the business, she should get all of the money. I do agree that Janine put her life on hold for her siblings, but she is getting married to a very rich man who will take care of her. My sons, on the other hand, will need money to get married and they all want stay-at-home wives. I can't seem to change my husband's opinion. I think that they should all share the money equally. Janine has a very strong business sense. She changed our company. Before, it was making 1 million profits in a year, but when she took over, it started making 3 million. She can start her own business, and I know she can make it thrive. Meanwhile, the money doctors making during their internship and residency is very low. I tried to explain this to my husband, but all he says is they should start eating ramen noodles and stop relying on their sister. I have decided to ask Janine to give her money to her brothers after her dad transfers it. So would I be the a-hole if I ask that of her? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. She already sent the rest of your kids to college for you. Now you want her to get less inheritance? At what point does she ever get a return on her hard work? And remember, this was written by OP, so she probably painted herself in the best light possible. Imagine how bad she truly acted and is acting. She also expects her son's future wives to stay at home and not work, while she wants her daughter to start her own business after she gets married. Okay, so your daughter stepped in and passed up on college to take over the business for your family. She paid for the son's education. She even tripled the profits of the business. In what world is it fair to her to penalize her for marrying someone with money? I'm not done yet. Now, your husband clearly owns 100% of the asset. For whatever reason, it is his, not yours. In what world is it fair to go around him and try to ensure his asset isn't divided as he has planned for it? Not sure why you love your sons more than your daughter. The supposed justification that doctors don't earn enough, but yet they plan to have stay-at-home wives, is a complete load of crap, and you know it. You don't love your daughter. You do love your sons. You have a chance to at least avoid pointing this out to her here. Your interference will accomplish nothing but hard feelings within your family. You're the a-hole. My God, woman, you are truly the a-hole here. Your daughter did what she could do to help out the entire family. 1. She helped her father when he was ill and continued running the business so you and your husband would still have a roof over your heads. 2. Your daughter sacrificed her own personal interest for herself by not attending university to help the family. 3. While working for that same business, she was able to increase profits for her father's company and assist her brothers in gaining an education to pursue careers as doctors. 4. Then when your husband has recovered and wants to reward his daughter for her personal sacrifices, and wants to reimburse her down the road for her kindness and love of family, somehow you can't get it through your poor sons who will do just fine down the road because their freaking doctors scold that your husband is 1000% happy to reward his daughter for the love, support, and sacrifice she endured for you all? And so what? She just happened to have met a lovely man who just appears to be wealthy, and that should cover it. Your husband wants to make sure she gets what she deserves. Let the man do so. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not telling my mom I got full ride scholarship to college? I, 18 female, stopped living at my mom's when I was 17. She and I do not have a very good relationship and has become more strained over the years. The trouble started when I was 8 and my mom started dating her husband. I was several months out from losing my dad, and when she introduced me to her husband, then boyfriend, I was honest that I did not like her dating. She told me I would come around, but within 4 months she left me with a cousin and got engaged to the guy while his kids were present. I found out because my cousin got a text with a photo of them, and the news had already gone around the rest of my mom's family and her husband's family. Then I was the last person to find out about her being pregnant 2 years after that point. Her stepson, who was 15 at the time, decided he would taunt me with the news and saying how mom had fully replaced my dad and I was next. I don't think he actually saw it that way, but he knew that's how I felt about mom being remarried. Apparently, they were all taken by their dad to be told while my mom was telling her family. I think it was like a week later when he taunted me over it. They did attempt to include me in stuff, but because I wasn't into it, that was kind of just left to be its own thing. Mom pulled away from me and would then feel bad and try to bond. Eventually, I just decided I had lost her because I couldn't blend with her husband and his kids, and because she would always resent me for that, the way I resented her for moving so fast after dad and putting everyone before me. I moved in with my dad's parents. This is where I was when I applied for college and stuff and I got the scholarship. I never told my mom. We didn't talk for months. And it's only after I started college last week that she had reached out to my grandparents about something and she found out. She was upset, furious, all the stuff, and she asked how I could leave her out of something so huge, because she would have celebrated the news with me. I told her I didn't really consider her part of my life anymore, and just like she had moved on from her life away from me, I had done the same away from her. She told me it was different and I was being cruel. Her husband took over and demanded I go to them and discuss everything as a family so that my mom could have the life she deserves and have her kid treat her right instead of being selfish and spoiled. I never set out to hurt my mom, but I did stop thinking about her role in my life after I moved out. Am I the a-hole? So that my mom could have the life she deserves and have her kid treat her right instead of being selfish and spoiled. That right there says it all. It still isn't about you. They are still only thinking of themselves. And how dare you not submit to them? Not today, Holopi. I hope you have a good time at college. Yep, stepdad sounds like a piece of work. What's that? You put in the effort to get a full ride scholarship to college? How selfish and spoiled you must be. It's clear that neither of them intended to put up money for college if Opie had already started by the time they found out, and then they chose to be mad about it rather than happy for her. Interesting emotional choice to say the least. I wouldn't be surprised if they heard she was in college and reached out because they wondered how she was paying for it. Not out of desire to help, but to figure out if they might be entitled to it. I think mom wanted to make a big online brag about her daughter getting a big scholarship. My absent parent complained that no one was congratulating him over the accomplishment of the child he hadn't spoken to for years. Like he had anything to do with it. Not the a-hole. She didn't do the work to keep you in her family, so yeah, you aren't part of her family. Why would you tell her when she isn't part of your life? Congratulations on your scholarship. I know that must have taken some work. It's interesting that your mom is upset not to know about your scholarship, but had no discussion with you about your plans after graduation. That seems so basic a discussion. Hey, what are your plans? Communication is a two-way street. If this assumption is correct, she never asked you your plans. Then not the a-hole. We hadn't talked in months, so no, she never asked me plans for college or anything. Not recently anyway. When I was 15, we got into a fight about it, but otherwise nothing. She abandoned you. She doesn't get to have it both ways. You can't abandon a child and then be a priority to the child. She sounds insufferable. Not the a-hole. Just go no contact with her and walk away. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting my parents in town but not at my house while I'm adjusting to life with a newborn? I'm 24 female. I'm currently pregnant. Due in December. I live with my fiancé Dan in the town where I grew up. I have a great relationship with my parents, but they had me quite late in life and they're both retired now, living in a beach town in the south. When they moved out, they sold me the house I grew up in well below market value, in exchange for me hosting them when they needed/wanted to come into town. It's been like that for 2 years. They've been here a bunch of times for 3 to 4 days at a time, and it's been a good arrangement, I think. Now, yesterday, I was talking to my mom about the birth, and I brought up that I would like her to be in town when I give birth, and to stay for a few weeks after. Dan has no relationship with his family, and I'm an only child, with only a couple of very elderly aunts and a few cousins I don't have much of a relationship with, so we don't really have much in terms of a support system. Therefore, I'd love for my parents to come here and help around the house, with the baby, offer me the emotional support I know I'm going to need, etc. My mom was excited that I was asking her to do this, and said that she'd be okay with staying with us for a few weeks while we adjusted to the baby. I then told her that I didn't mean her staying with us, just in town, as I believe Dan and I are going to need and want alone time to adjust to the baby. My mom was a little offended, saying that she wasn't going to bother us and she was going to help out. But I told her it was nothing personal. I just preferred if she got a hotel or Airbnb or something. My father then intervened, having been somewhere within earshot, and said that accommodation was going to be really expensive around that time of the year. Our town has a very big Christmas market, and he wasn't going to spend thousands of dollars when I was asking them to come. And it had been our agreement when they sold me the house that they could stay whenever they wanted. Which is fair, but I don't think that having a newborn at home is just a regular time in someone's life. And it's not like I ever complained about them coming over before. I just don't want them in the house, but I do want them in town. And I feel a little sad that they're putting money above me and their grandson. My mother hung up the call trying to appease the situation, but then sent me a text saying that her and my dad were a little upset over the whole thing, and that they thought I wasn't being reasonable. When Dan got home, I told him all this and he kind of sided with them. saying that they should be allowed to stay with us. But I still don't think it makes sense as we are going to be needing our alone time. Was I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. You're not the a-hole for wanting privacy with your husband as you adjust to being parents. But you're the a-hole for asking your parents to come, but stay at a hotel without offering to pay for it. Sadly, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Wanting support is understandable, but if you want them near but not at your home, you need to pay for it. It's unreasonable to ask them to foot the bill. It's understandable to want privacy and time to adjust, and you are not obligated to have anyone in your home that you do not want. But I'm astounded by your entitlement. You want your elderly parents to spend thousands to stay in an Airbnb for a month during holiday season and provide you with emotional and practical support while you adjust to parenthood? Have you forgotten who's doing who the favor? You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Either let them stay at your house or pay for their hotel/B&B/whatever yourself, or don't expect them to visit. They're doing you a favor. A second favor at that, since they already sold you their house at well below market value in exchange for your letting them stay there when they visit. I'm not saying you're an a-hole for not wanting house guests when you have a new baby, just that you can't demand that they visit for an extended period to help you, but insist that they pay their own way. She also wants them there to help with housework. She's asking them to come over and clean the house they're not allowed to stay in, then leave to go back to the hotel she expects them to pay for. The audacity of some new parents. I'm actually flabbergasted. The entitlement reeks in this post. Imagine being a parentless, infertile, homeless woman with dreams of becoming a mother, having a roof over their head. This has check your privilege all over it. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law she's ruining her relationship with her newly adopted son? My sister-in-law, my husband's oldest sister, and her husband have been foster parents forever. Just recently, like the past 3 months recently, one of their longtime foster kids officially became their son after living with them for 4 years. And sister-in-law and her husband have decided they are changing his first name because it's too weird and not a real name. Given his name is incredibly uncommon, and not my kid, I won't share it, but think of something along the lines of word names that relate to the ocean. He loves his name. He has never expressed any kind of bad vibe about his name, and he has actually asked them not to change it. Speaking as someone who also has a very uncommon name, at least for the US, and think constellation for what mine could be, and who loves my name also, I feel so bad for him. They told him he would thank them one day, and to think about how nice it would be for him to be named by his parents instead of by strangers. He's almost 9, and he told them it was part of who he is. He also pointed to me, but they said I was different, and that I am not a doctor or a lawyer, so my name is less of a hindrance. He said he doesn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer either. They told him he could change his mind, and in the corporate world his current name would not work. I pointed out that I do have a corporate job and have never had problems. But again, I am different. They decided his name should be James or William, and they are working on deciding which to use while giving him a family name. My husband told them they should listen to me. Sister-in-law went on a tangent about how I don't know what I'm talking about, and I should sit down and consider the harm my parents did to me by inflicting me with a name as stupid as mine. I told her she could insult me, my parents, and everyone else who gives their kids names she doesn't like, but she has to accept the fact her son wants to keep his name. And just seeing these people who promise to love him and be his family when he didn't always have one, try to change him and tell him he's wrong for hating his name. I said she might not see it, but she is seriously harming their relationship. And she should be prepared for him to not forgive her for this. I also pointed out how it is a link to his biological parents, not just to random strangers, but to people who are no longer alive to care for him. I can't say what she said, but she told me I should mind my own business, that I had no right to say any of this to her, which might be true. Am I the a-hole? My knee-jerk is that this has zero to do with the corporate world. This is all about her discomfort with a name she sees as less than normal. That kid has a rough ride ahead. The kid already has a job to do. Assimilate and grow up to be a doctor or lawyer. That would be a great return on an investment on their part. Buy kid and he in turns buys you a nice house to retire in. Just waiting for them to fling out during an argument how he needs to be grateful to them always no matter what, because they adopted him and they didn't need to. I mean, that is an easy fix, even if they change it. Tell the kid that he doesn't have to respond to a name he doesn't identify with, and he can change it back when he turns 18. When my mother started calling me by a nickname I didn't like, I would simply pretend I didn't hear her until she got frustrated and used my real name. I hope he should start saving money and offer to give it to him when he's 18 as a birthday gift.